to TV trash. It's been talked a lot on the internet, and even on this show, about how Don Bluth was a major pioneer in animation, daring to take chances with cartoon films, even ones targeted at young audiences, believing that child viewers were able to handle serious issues better than most people give them credit for. And while it may be up for debate as to what his greatest work is, a good argument can be made for An American Tail. The first Don Bluth film to be made with the production of Steven Spielberg and Universal Pictures, the 1986 film was the story of Feivel Mouskowitz, a young Russian mouse who is separated from his family upon their migration to the United States. While the plot mostly focuses on Feivel's mission to reunite with them, the movie is also a parable meant to show the struggles that 19th century European immigrants encountered while looking to find new lives for themselves in the USA. This parable more or less continued in the 1991 sequel, An American Tail: Feivel Goes West, which was a reflection of those same immigrants and other Americans who eventually saw their futures as pioneers in the open plains and deserts of the other side of the country. It should be noted that Bluth had pretty much no involvement with Feivel Goes West, as it was made by Spielberg's new but short-lived animation studio. That may be why the sequel was not fondly received by critics upon its theatrical release, but it did gain a huge following in home video sales. That may have been the driving force behind Spielberg and Universal partnering up with Nelvana to produce a whole animated series for CBS's Saturday morning lineup in 1992. I mean, hey, CBS already had some success doing an animated follow-up to another hit Spielberg movie, so could lightning strike twice? Let's find out with Feivel's American Tail. So the show, of course, picks up where the second film left off, as we see the Mouskowitz family having settled in the frontier town of Green River, Utah, living in the father's violin shop housed underneath the general store in the human town. Too bad, if they had decided to live just a few hundred feet deeper, we might have seen the first ever iteration of the Fraggles. Naturally, the show mainly focuses on Feivel and all of the trouble, adventures, he constantly gets into on the wild frontier, usually with his feline best friend Tiger in tow.
Help me! Sounds like Sydney. Somebody help!
Ooh, sounds desperate.
And okay, I will say this. If there is any real justification for extending this franchise past the original movie, it's this. I love this dynamic. Feivel and Tiger are the anti-Tom and Jerry.
Feivel Mouskowitz, unser good-for-nothing Tiger. Again.
I bet you don't have this much fun at school. Right?
Is this series actually giving us a subtle example of two different races finding common ground with one another? Nah! That's not to say the standard cat versus mouse conflict isn't still here, because also returning from the second movie is Qatar Wall, and he's still up to his old snake oil tricks trying to con all the mice in the city, or sometimes even the other cats in town. Needless to say, he's not very popular among them.
I thought I told you to stay out of our alley, Wall. Yeah.
That's right.
Now you've gone and interrupted my meal. And I hate when that happens.
For frack's sake, it's like some other kid moved into the cul-de-sac and was trying to con Ed, and Eddie. You're muscling in on the other cat's territory, Wall. And sadly, we no longer get John Cleese to voice him here, though at least we still get the character, unlike others. Wiley Burp, for example, was completely written out, as no one believed anyone could ever replace the great Jimmy Stewart for that voice. Also written out was Tony Tapani, as her voice actor, Pat Mushik, had stepped away from acting to care for her new daughter. You may have seen and heard that daughter in a few productions since. That said, the show should get a lot of credit for the voice cast they were able to retain, which included Philip Glasser as Feivel, Kathy Cavadini as his sister Tanya, and yes, the legend that was Dom DeLuise as Tiger.
You gotta help me.
Tiger, I can't.
I've been writing to Miss Kitty, see, and I got a little, well, carried away. And I told her I was Marshal of Green River. And, chasing outlaws, foiling felons, being a hero, trying to, impress her. And now, she's coming to Green River.
See, be thankful they never spun Oliver and Company off into a TV series. So yes, it does look like everything was in place to continue the original story that was in the very first two films. Which is why the first episode of this series is a Home Alone ripoff!
The whole town went to the cheese festival at Harvest Meadow, and I missed the wagon.
You mean you're home alone?
At least they frackin' acknowledge it!
Go in and flush him out, Wall.
That is the last straw.
You good for nothing, Tin Horn.
For what it's worth, many of the other episodes do have themes that at least match up with the setting, such as one based on a gold rush, episodes involving mail-order catalogs and quack doctors, and yes, even a Zorro ripoff.
Huh? Thanks, Zarowitz.
You are welcome, amiibo.
Though that one probably aged better than the Disney series. We even got an episode about Jingle Bells that aired in December of that year, which was just about Feivel tying the bells to Cat's tail so they could know their whereabouts. What makes this crazier is that they had a Gift of the Magi type story earlier in the season. Education was definitely an important factor in this series. The show had the backing of the Reading is Fundamental campaign, and many episodes involved Feivel having to read and research in order to find a solution for the story's conflict. So yeah, I guess Macaulay Culkin's retaliation was using this to create the Page Master. It seems the people at Universal really wanted this series to sell, as 12 of the 13 episodes did get released on VHS and Laserdisc. That's a pretty big risk when you know how the series would have taken up to 6 VHS cassettes and how Laserdisc really never expanded beyond a luxury fad. Unfortunately, it seems like it didn't work as they wanted, and only that first season was ever made. The series never got a DVD release in the USA, though ever since Universal got the rights back, the whole series has been released on Peacock. Amazing when you consider that streaming service still doesn't show any of the movies. Not even the 2 direct-to-video films that were released years after the TV series, but both take place before the second movie's story. Cartoons are confusing. All that having been said, this definitely is not a terrible show. It's probably forgetful, except for the devoted fans of the franchise, and is a watered-down, more lighthearted version of the source material, but the creators tried their best to be accurate and continuous to the movies, and the attempts to get kids into reading without being excessively preachy is a nice touch. If you loved the movies as a kid but missed out on this, you might want to check it out. Maybe stepping up that show's viewership will get them to actually upload the movies to the streaming service like they should be. Seriously, Comcast, you're gonna need more to compete with Disney than just WWE and the Premier League. See you next time on TV Trash.